Morning, everybody. My name is Nikki Parr. I am the Associate Director for Strategic Initiatives here at WEV, Women's Economic Ventures. We are hosting the WEV Works webinar series this morning with Elly Iverson. Elly is the founder of Edgy Experiences and is also a WEV client. And Elly will be sharing how to take advantage of this new COVID world that we're living in and pivot. And this is something that she's extremely familiar with herself, having done a phenomenal pivot several months ago to now become our local expert in how to run really exciting and engaging virtual events. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Elly, and thank you for being here.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining. Okay, I just want to see if anybody is familiar with using reactions on Zoom. Just like a thumbs up if you're just feeling like it's time for the holidays and feeling like it's time for some like happy news in the world. Yeah, me too. So I'm really happy that you've joined us this morning. And for all of those that couldn't join but will be watching this later, this is just a great space for us to get together and to really share support and share stories around what's been working, what hasn't been working, and then seeing how we can really go into the holiday season where we're confident in what we're doing and creating a space that's good for clients, good for audience, and just good for the creative community in general. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and kick things off here. Okay. And I will give a quick shout out. If you haven't been using Canva yet, I highly recommend it for everything in the virtual world and beyond. Just really good platform for creating content. So today we are talking about co-hosting for the holidays. And the idea behind this was that, you know, we can do things on our own, but really things are more powerful, they're more effective, they're more efficient, they're more overall better when you have more people involved. So that's why we're looking at this as a resource for the holiday season for WEV clients and just small business owners in general. So today we are talking about a few things. So I'm going to go ahead and do a quick introduction. Then we'll go through some COVID era event trends that I've been seeing, that I've been exploring, and that might be helpful to you. I'll be introducing our three special guests who have been just doing phenomenal things in the community and also working with small businesses for quite some time. And then we'll be opening it up to breakout sessions because again, the idea is collaboration, and we want to make sure that we give you a space to connect, to network. I mean, when was the last time we've been to physical networking experiences? It's been so long, and I miss that. And I think there's something about being in small groups where you get to talk one-on-one that's really important and really is something that we need to keep in the community. And then at the very end, we'll go through a recap and just follow up to make sure you have all the information you need. Okay. So quick introduction here. I am from Santa Barbara. I've got a lot of long-standing regional connections, but I've also traveled quite a bit. So that's helped me to really focus on creative and engaging gatherings. So looking across cultures, looking across cities, looking across, you know, creative communities to see what works, what doesn't work, how can we make this better? So that's what I've been doing, really working with large scale events, nonprofits, public art activations, pop-up experiences, and it's really ranged because I just have so many passions and so many things that I get excited about, but at the core of it is creative and engaging gatherings. With the pandemic, obviously events were kind of at a standstill, and the whole event industry has really been trying to figure out what to do next. And with that in mind, I quickly transitioned to virtual and hybrid event experiences. So seeing what can we do virtually, what can we do online, what can we do to still engage the community. Right now, I'm working on offering, everything from consultant to project-based to retainer support, just to help navigate what's happening next and to make sure that we still maintain this creative community and maintain these ideas that can get us through, and also potentially, you know, create new styles of communicating and new styles of connecting. So this is my company, Edgy Experiences. It's Edgy, not EJI. And the idea is doing something a little bit different, creative gathering solutions right now, online and in person. Okay, so not sure how many of you have done this already, but one thing that I really love about Zoom and doing these webinars is the chance to collectively gather information. And so I've put together a collaborative Google Doc that I'm hoping Nikki can share in the chat box for you guys. And with this, I've put in a few resources already. So, you know, one of the things that some WEV clients have really tapped into is this LinkedIn learning opportunity. And there's a great, really short, easy, digestible bit on marketing virtual events that I would recommend. In addition to just looking at the WEV client business directory, seeing who's already a part of the WEV community and working with that, and, you know, reaching out and saying, hey, you know, I did this webinar or I'm part of this group, I'd love to connect. So those are some resources that I've put in, but I would love to see anybody who wants to add notes in there as we go, add your information in there, but it's a collective note-taking opportunity for us to really help each other. So that's something that I'll be referencing, and I hope you can add notes to as we go through. If you have any resources that you are just in love with for virtual or hybrid or in-person events, go ahead and throw those in there as well. Okay, so to kick things off, I just wanted to give you some numbers to look at, because it's always helpful to kind of look at what's happening with data-driven numbers. I think what's interesting about today's society is we have in-person opportunities that are starting to happen again. You know, we have to look at the safety and prioritize that, but there's also a lot of benefits to continuing virtual events and to continuing hybrid events that can range, again, from nonprofits, from corporations, festivals, to the small business world. And so there's a few different things I wanted to show you on here that I think are really powerful to just recognize as we're going through this. So obviously having networking opportunities in person is the best, but we're shifting that, and I'm seeing that shift happening where there are ways to network virtually that are really coming to be. But as a small business, if you're looking to put yourself out there and to create a space online for people to learn about you, or to learn about what you're doing, or learning about your, you know, group of business owners that you're working with, these virtual and hybrid events give such a great opportunity for live Q&As like we're doing today, for polls and surveys, for content and speakers, for and then also for repurposing content. So as I think Nikki mentioned in what was in the original slide, this is going to be recorded, and then it'll be an available resource on YouTube and through the WEV site. So again, we're putting this together, we're coming together for a webinar and to learn, but it's also something that's going to be a resource down the line. So when you think about what you're doing coming into the holiday season, I think really taking this into account is going to be really powerful and something that is very helpful, at least to my brain. So I'm curious too, if you want to, again, use those emojis. How many in this group have been to a virtual event in the past week or two? If you do like a thumbs up. Okay, a few of you. Yeah. So there's a lot going on the virtual stage. And so I think it's interesting to see that, you know, you have a good chunk of folks who are really kind of tapping into this and seeing what's out there and what's available. Okay, so most of you came into this webinar because you're a small business owner looking at resources and things to do for the holiday season. As you think about that, I really want to start in a space where you're thinking about priorities here. Events, regardless of if it's virtual, hybrid, or in person are multifaceted and they're complicated. There's a lot of challenges to pull off both those virtual and in-person experiences. And I think, you know, there's this kind of preconceived notion that you can just, oh, I'm just going to live stream and this is going to turn out really great and I don't need any help. But the reality of it is, in order to do it effectively and in order to really have something successful, you have to be able to see it from a bigger picture and bring in the people that can actually make it super, super successful. So consider what roles you play and then which ones you can delegate. So what is it that you want to bring to the table if you're hosting something virtually or in person? And then what is it that you need help with? I think really thinking about that, and then thinking, okay, what do you need help with? And then how much are you willing to invest in that? Because that's another big part of it as well. Regardless of if it's virtual or in person, you're going to be putting an investment in order to make this successful. And if you get experienced help, whether that's, you know, getting new graphics made or having tech support on the back end, all of those things can be super helpful. Yeah, I see we've got Nikki putting in some notes. Seriously, if anybody wants to add notes to the Google Doc, it's a great, great resource there. Okay, so going through, I'm going to chat about virtual and in-person event trends that I've been seeing, that I've been working with for the past few months. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat box as well, and we'll see what we can answer at the end. But again, looking at these trends, introducing our special guests to come in and talk about their experiences, and then we'll have time to collaborate and really talk about what can happen from there. Okay, so as I see it, there are about 4 different opportunities that I want to talk about today with just what I've had personal experience with and what I think can be really helpful for this audience. So that's looking at public live streams, hosted live streams, hybrid events, and in-person events. So to clarify, public live streams being something that you're doing for free on Facebook, Instagram, social media, hosted live stream being something that you either invite people into, so it's a special invitation that they're getting, or it's something that they're paying to access. And then hybrid events are when you have your either public or hosted live stream experience, but you have something physical that goes along with it. So somebody gets a gift package, or they get, you know, things to follow along with physically that might not be there if it's just on the virtual stage. And then in the end, we'll be looking at in-person events. So looking at how you can collaborate safely right now. Things are shifting constantly, but really hoping that we can see where we can safely create spaces during the holiday season where people can work together and we can get some retail pushed out yet again. Okay, so public live stream. I'm going to give you some examples of events that I've been working on, and this is especially looking at the Santa Barbara region and just people that I've collaborated with in this town specifically, because I think it's important to know that, you know, as we look at webinars and as we look at trends, there's a lot happening around the world. I think Santa Barbara is really a hub, and this region, this Central California region, is a hub for seeing what trends are taking off faster than others, and then also having these small businesses that are creative and are willing to collaborate together. So one of the events that I started quite early on in quarantine was Stir Crazy Cocktail Hour. And the idea was just to, you know, try out a virtual experience. I have experience in bartending. It's a passion of mine. My partner is a DJ. So we're like, let's put together music and bartending. But then from that, it kind of evolved, because what we realized is that's all fun and games, but it's way better if you have other businesses also tap into that, and you have these other audiences that you can reach through Instagram and social media. So you can see Robin, one of our special guests, was one of my guests on Stir Crazy Cocktail Hour, and we got to talk about bars in the downtown area and what was happening there, because everything was so new. I also had a local mixologist and restaurant owner and a catering business owner come in, and with that one, you know, we really got to dive into the history of the cocktail that was being made and have this conversation, and then have a chat box running where people could ask questions. Similarly, right at the beginning, I had a Instagram live streaming for creative. So it was this idea of, what are we doing with live streaming? It's something that was very new to me personally. I tend to like to be behind the camera more than anything. And so I invited my friends that are in this community that have been doing this for quite some time. And I live streamed just me asking them questions about how they do it, what they recommend. And it was not only a resource for me because they were giving me insight on how I could live stream, but it was also insight for the larger creative community, because you know, a lot of people were trying to figure this out and still are trying to figure out how to get into these spaces and utilize these platforms better. I'll also say it was wonderful being a guest myself for the Digital Arts Festival that Center Stage put on, where again, it's these interviews and they're pretty simple in the format, but you're building this content library where people can both watch it live and then also have it as a resource later down the road. Hosted live stream. So this is an interesting one, especially if you're getting a group together and you're looking at either selling tickets or having something special that's really targeted for a specific audience. So a few examples of what I've done. I worked with a local yoga instructor to have morning dance parties over Zoom where we get everybody together. We kind of go through stretches. We have silly costumes that were encouraged. And it was just a great way to, one, try out this resource, but then also, you know, build a community and also share our audience. So she had her yoga audience. I have kind of this dance party community event audience. So we were able to share those audiences for these events that we hosted together. I also did a Vogue workshop with some local drag queens where it was talking about the history of Vogue, the history of drag, having a Q&A, and then having that breakout session for choreography. So how do you bring somebody in that has something interesting that may be a little different than what you're doing, but you know, utilize those resources and utilize their talents. And then finally, one of the big hosted live stream events I've done is Pangea's Playhouse, where I bring in creatives and it's 8 artists per show. And the interesting thing about this is it's a ticketed show, but the artists get a big cut of the ticket price. And so this is because we're not working with venue fees, we're not working with lighting, we're not working with sound, we're not staffing a huge venue. Here's a space where we can bring creatives together and then split those profits more equally. So if you're thinking about hosting something that's ticketed, just bring that, you know, consider that this is a space where you don't have a lot of overhead costs that you would say in a retail store or in a venue. And so how do you really emphasize that space and then be able to share that profit equally, or, you know, in a way that makes sense for you and your group. So that's hosted. Okay, going through hybrid. This is something that I also think is just starting to be tapped into, especially at fundraisers. I'm curious if anybody who raised their hand and or did the thumbs up for attending a virtual event, has anybody attended a virtual fundraiser or an event and received a gift box in the mail yet? Possibly. Okay, well, this is another trend that's really, really starting to kick off, especially in the nonprofit world, but I think it's something that is expanding as well. If you're looking at conferences or if you're looking at markets, where you can put together, you know, a gift bag of sorts and have it delivered before the event or during the event or after the event. A few examples of that is while I was doing the Pangea's Playhouse, which is, you know, a creative stage experience, we worked with Draftsman and Buena Onda to put together a concession stand offering. So if people ordered ahead of time, they could pick up the food to have while they watched the show. Similarly with Stir Crazy, this was an idea I had at the very beginning to send out home party kits. So something like an all-natural cocktail mixer that comes with cups, comes with the games, comes with a code to listen to a good music set. And it's, again, how do you bring the experience into people's homes if they're not coming to the venue to have that with you? So we'll talk about this more later, and I'm going to have Kaylee tap on that a little bit when she chats. But I think hybrid is a really, really powerful tool that a lot of people are using right now. And even if you're, say, partnering with a nonprofit, a lot of the data that's been coming out around this is that if you are an in-kind sponsor or a food and beverage partner or a sponsor partner for a nonprofit, the chances of them seeing who you are and recognizing, you know, where this food is coming from and what I'm receiving is much higher, because they get the programs home with them and they get more information about your specific company, as opposed to going to an event, you get a program, you might look at it, you might toss it away. It's just something to think about in terms of how people are viewing you and how many times they get to see you. So if they have the program in their house, it's hanging out, you know, they're watching this virtual thing while they're eating some food or drinking some wine, it's just, it's going to have more impact there if you set it up correctly. So that's hybrid events. In person. So this is fun. Again, shout out to Canva, but being able to put videos in here. So if you can see in the bottom corner, this is an event that we've been doing here in Santa Barbara for the past 2 months, where we took that idea of Wake and Shake, which is our virtual event that we were doing early on in quarantine, and we actually brought it into real life. So this is working with the yoga group, but that has silent disco headsets that can be sanitized so that we can spread people out, have social distance happening, have live music happening, but it's all happening right here. So you're not, you know, in a concert setting where you're trying to get as close to the stage as possible. You can spread out as far as you want, and you still get this opportunity to listen to music live and be around people just in a safe way. So I think that is a really important thing to consider as we're looking at transitioning back to in-person events, back to in-person retail, back to those, you know, ticketed experiences, and how do we create it so that it's safe and then it has that exciting feeling of being somewhere in an event space. Similarly, one of the ideas we tested out with a merchant collective, Sevilla Square, during the summer was to have live music where we had stanchions, we had a pretty effective social distance space with acoustic or low amplified music. And again, it wasn't so much of stand and listen to this music as a concert, but as you're in the space, enjoy this and then look at all that's being offered by the merchants in this area as well. So I think that in itself is a very, you know, very cool thing to think about if you're working with a group or if you're looking at in-person retail, and how do you draw people in and how do you create an experience that isn't just shopping, but has something else added to it. I'll also bring up briefly Relive, which was a pop-up art gallery that we created last October. So this is before COVID, but looking at how Santa Barbara does have empty retail spaces, and if you get a good group together, or if you have that investment that you're ready to make, you can create these spaces that are temporary or more long-term, but that can feature different artists, can feature different businesses, and as long as it's done safely, you know, especially right now, there's so many creative opportunities you can explore with that. You can see in the top corner here, we actually had a projection artist project onto the front of the building right before a show that we did in the evening. So there's just ways of doing this where it's bringing in more of that excitement and that energy without necessarily, you know, investing in a huge production, but you have resources that you can use to create something special. Okay, so to finish this up before we go into our special guest feature, I just want to say, again, put energy in the right spaces. Really think about where your target market plays. Know that online audience attention is distracted. That's just the, you know, the name of the game right now, and you have to find ways to keep people invested in what you're doing, and then host with a goal in mind and set that up so that you know what you're doing going into it, and delegate tasks. desks. Make sure you have different people who are in charge of different things. And then if you are having in-person events, make sure that those are creating content so that you have that fear of missing out that people will really embrace, and they'll want to be a part of it in the future. So if you're creating spaces that are retail centric, have something exciting there, have a photo wall, have something that people can really engage with so that you can see it on the social media platforms as well. Okay, so now we are going into our section with our special guests, which I'm so happy and so honored that they've joined me for this, because they are all stars and rock stars in these spaces. So to kick things off, we've got Robin Elander. Robin is the interim executive director for the Downtown Santa Barbara organization, which promotes and markets over 1,200 business members in the downtown district. Robin is also the executive director of Santa Barbara's annual summer solstice celebration and the founder and director of Global Good Impact, an organization dedicated to empowering individuals and strengthening communities worldwide. She has 20 years of experience managing community building projects, campaigns, and events, and for nonprofits, municipalities, and private organizations. So we will have Robin just chat about what she's been up to recently, what she's seen in terms of, you know, what's happening going into the holiday season. And then we will leave some time for Q&A at the end as well. So Robin, thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Elly and Nikki. This is really fun to connect with you all. And I so love, Elly, your energy on what can be done, because there really actually is so much that can be done. And right now it's an opportunity to really pivot and change, not only because we have to, but because we can, and it really opens up a lot of doors for us in ways that we would have never expected. So in the last 4.5 months or so, I took on this role with the interim as a downtown organization executive director, and so much is happening downtown. So if you haven't been downtown in a while, or if you have, you will have noticed that the downtown State Street has become a promenade since Memorial Day weekend. And that has really opened up a lot of opportunities for businesses to bring their wares out into the street, have outdoor dining and things like that. It is a trend across the nation to be able to do that, and it's re-enlivening downtowns in a way that we would have really never expected. This was something that the community was considering, making State Street a promenade for quite some time, but there was never quite the full impetus to make that designation or change. And so now it's being thoroughly explored. We are planning to keep it open with the emergency ordinance until December 8th, but it may be continued to March 3rd. But some of the things that I'm seeing with that opportunity are a lot of people are doing some innovative things, whether it's in their business or outside, but particularly the hybrid aspect. I'm seeing a lot of that. So Elly's really onto something in that space, and people are showcasing, either doing virtual tours of their space, and then getting a lot of people to come into their business from that. So they are bringing on guests that either sell their product or that they can get to know them a little bit more, and they're creating a more intimate relationship with their audience in a way that they may have never done so before. Also, particularly for restaurants and retail, they are doing a lot of online sales or pickup in store, and really making sure that getting that online purchasing process really streamlined is so important. And I think that that is something that is happening out of this more so than before, but is actually dually supporting businesses, not only having people come in, see what's in the store, but having that experience of being able to easily purchase online and getting the business set up for that. And it may not have been properly set up for that in the past. So that's significant, because you can reach a worldwide audience when you're set up for that. And it's really important to sell not only in your immediate space. A lot of our businesses, I believe, have been relying on walk-by traffic, which is not, as always, it's in a transition all the time. And so now we're trying to create more of that walk-through traffic, but having the online experience with very streamlined purchasing is really wonderful. As an organization, we've been doing some virtual shopping tours. So we've been picking different types of groupings whether it's health and wellness or local different types of goods, or we're going to be actually doing a downtown makeover giveaway. And so this is kind of an innovative way that we are not only helping our community by having a nomination process, and this is just about to come out, so you guys can all nominate yourselves or your friends. So we're going to be doing a downtown makeover giveaway for two deserving individuals, and through that we are going to be showcasing a lot of different businesses in that transition of the makeover. So think Fab Five, kind of a feeling to it, and through that the businesses will get a lot of bang for their buck in terms of their contribution. We also are starting a new State Street Promenade Market that will begin November 5th. So this is an in-person version, but we're also doing a little bit of a hybrid in that we will be certainly marketing it on site and doing some virtual showcasing of the businesses that are involved, and also having a site on our website where all of the vendors that participate will have an ability to sell through their website there as well. So that starts we're aligning this and partnering with the city on this, because when the time changes, they're installing a whole lot of new downtown lights that will really help the area that we're having this market pop. One thing that you'll find is that it is really difficult to have traditional events, but marketplaces are allowed because retail is one of the parts of this local RISE guide that is allowable right now. So we are taking advantage of that. And that's a pivot because we would have been doing a couple of other things. We would have been doing a First Thursday event that maybe you all are familiar with, a gallery stroll. So we have to put that on pause, but this is a version that we can do. We also have been doing an annual holiday parade, and so this is going to be our holiday market instead. So I invite you all to participate in that. I'll put the link in the Google Sheet, which is such a great idea. I so love that Google Sheet because sometimes you don't always get the things in the chat, so that is super smart. And then one of the things that I have seen has been effective is partnering with different businesses and sharing mailing lists. So I don't mean taking their whole list and you get all of the contacts, but what I do mean is partnering with 1 to say 5 different like-minded businesses, whether you sell similar type of goods or you sell completely different things, but highlighting what they're doing in your e-news lists and sharing those, as well as sharing those things virtually in your social media feeds and things like that, because you're getting new audiences and you're not able to always attract audiences just to yours. And it's so much more fun, like Elly says, to collaborate with others. And that's the success of any community building event or project I've ever done. It's really about the collaboration and working with people that you know and you like and growing in relationship. So those are some of the things that I would suggest. A few other things that we are doing, we have pivoted, and we're doing a downtown business spotlight with the local independent. So every week at 3 o'clock, we interview 2 different business owners. And it's a great collaboration because the independent can market it, our organization can market it, the businesses that are involved can market it, and then it's continued to be reused. So that's a great way for us to highlight businesses, and for those that are in the downtown area, want to check that out. And then don't forget to use your local media. They are really exploring positive news right now. You see a lot of the negative news out there, but they are tired of it, just like we are. So if you can give them your exciting things that you're up to, and in some places, you know, send it to the Newshawk, send it to the Independent, send it to your local news outlets, and then invite them to your store or invite them to whatever you're doing, your virtual experience, because they may write it up afterward or reshare it for you. So that's really great. And then particularly radio, local radio is also a great way to get on radio and podcasts. So if you connect with someone who already has an audience, or even start your own podcast, because then you can not only grow your own audience and someone else's. These are all things that I'm seeing and that I have personally tried and are really fun. Video interviews on the regular are a great way to showcase what you're doing, what the trends are, and grow in relationship. And those are all really easy and free things to do. I'll share a few other resources in the chat and in that Google Sheet. But those are the main things that I wanted to share at the moment. And I'm curious if anyone has any questions, or if Elly, you want to
Robin,
me in any additional ways.
Definitely. So we're gonna wrap this up pretty quickly to go over to Kaylee, but I did see there was a question about doing anything to feature artists and galleries to replace First Thursday.
Absolutely, and that is what this State Street Promenade Market is. It's particularly focused on artists and local makers. So it's on the 900 and 1000 block, and we invite you to get involved, and it's going to be a great way for those venues to participate. And also we'll be highlighting the regular First Thursday venues, shall they want to participate in this as well.
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to move on so that we can keep the ball rolling here. I saw there's a few more questions, but again, we've got all the resources in that Google Doc that we shared, and hope maybe Nikki can share it again just for easy access for those of you that haven't tapped into it. But we've got everybody's contact information there, so you can reach out directly for questions or for collaboration, and it's a good resource for everybody to have. So thank you, Robin, for joining me, for sharing that. Okay, so our next guest for today's webinar is Kaylee Hernandez, founder of ROHO. She's passionate about social and economic change, completed her undergraduate degree from Northwestern University studying political science and international studies. Upon graduating, she accepted a Princeton to Africa fellowship, where she worked for a global humanitarian organization across East Africa, working on refugee and child labor programming. While attending the 2015 Clinton Global Initiative University Conference, she was named a Resolution Fellow, which awarded her seed money and mentorship to launch ROHO. Since then, she's been off the ground running, as ROHO was highlighted in Forbes and selected as one of 50 projects featured in the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth Solutions Report. That is a big name for a report, but very, very impressive, and very glad to have you here, Kaylee. And again, I'm hoping, you know, as we go through these guests, to just talk about a few different options around what is happening in the virtual world, what's happening in the real retail world, and seeing, you know, what you can do between that. So Kaylee, thank you for joining, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Elly and Robin. Great job starting us off. So as Elly mentioned, my name's Kaylee Hernandez. I'm the founder of ROHO. So essentially what we do is we import products that are all handmade by artisans in Kenya, sell them here in the US. And I wanted to share a couple experiences and ways that I've collaborated in the past tasked with actually several of you who I see participating right now, which makes me happy to see. First and foremost, I wanted to talk about photography collaboration with another brand. So essentially what this means is, so for example, about 2 months ago, we did a photo shoot with another footwear brand where this footwear brand was, of course, modeling their shoes and then asked to use our jewelry as a way to accessorize their line. When you do something like this, it's first of all a great way to accessorize a photo shoot and a great way to cross-promote products that don't necessarily compete with one another, but it's a way to highlight small businesses locally, and a way to really ensure that your products are getting in front of a larger audience. So for example, think if you're ever doing a lifestyle photo shoot for any products, of course, this mostly only works for like physical products rather than services, but you can include another person's products that don't compete. As you move into the holiday season, you might want to begin thinking, who can you cross promote with? I don't know about all of you, but we're starting to do some small photography to get us through the holiday season. So, you know, thinking our products with, you know, a model in a Santa hat or whatever. And where can we collaborate with people? So I'm just thinking off the top of my head, you know, is there a blanket company that we can have one of our models in Rojo products sitting down on one of these blankets, and we can then shout out this other company who has a similar customer base to us, and who we would be able to share our products with, share our photography with, and, you know, we would be able to cross promote on social media. I wanted to just mention here, you want to make sure that there are clear expectations for the photographs. Are they labeled for use? Who gets creative direction during a photo shoot? For people who are looking to, as cheaply as possible, get some good imagery for the holiday season or beyond, it might be a good way to split some of the costs for a photo shoot. If you hire a photographer, you might be able to kind of work in these two brands getting images that they're looking for. I'd also recommend setting clear guidelines for who and what is to be tagged, how often these pictures are going to be posted, things like that. But for us, it was a really great way to get in front of a large number of new customers through our collaboration that happened a few months ago. Also, I wanted to mention online cross promotion. So this is when people all come together. I know Robin kind of touched on this, but this is when you and several other brands will come together and post through your email list, through social media, things like that. You come up with a goal beforehand, whether that's all of you want to get more followers or generate online sales or get people to come to an event, whatever that looks like. And you all will cross promote together. Obviously, it's a way that you can, again, get in front of a larger number of people than you would otherwise normally be able to. So if your goal is to get more followers, for example, I'd recommend a giveaway. So you give out free product, as do all the other participants. You say it's kind of like a giveaway type basket situation, a gift basket. On social media, people have to follow all of the participants that you agree on. And usually what we've seen work well is you have people who are entering the giveaway also tag a friend, which then in turn encourages more engagement. In the past, we've gotten several hundred new followers as a result of something like this. The larger the giveaway item, the more excitement that usually generates around a giveaway. But also know that you are going to incur the cost of giving away a free product and then shipping that to a winner if they're not local and you can't drop that off. If your goal is to get more online sales, I'd suggest having all participants, and this doesn't necessarily have to be a physical product. This could be a gift certificate, or I know that in the past we've done something with, like for example, Sarita Ellis Photography, and Sarita offers, you know, service, but it's about cross promoting together and ensuring that she's able to get more, you know, bookings for for photography events. So I'd suggest having all participants offer a discount for their respective items, and tie it to a holiday or a specific timeline, which generates a sense of urgency for customers. So when these have worked in the past, we've like to ensure that all participants are working together have a decent social media following that's relatively engaged, and that your ideal customer is their ideal customer. I'd also want to ensure that all participants share a commitment to posting, sharing with their email lists, etc. This only works if people participate wholeheartedly. It's kind of a bummer if you're doing something like this and you're committed to posting and generating excitement, and other participants aren't willing to do that. It makes it less successful overall. And I'd also offer, if you're offering a discount code, it's easiest if you all offer the same discount code across the board. That's just very small, but lesson learned from last time we did this event. And I also made a note, Elly, you are so right, Canva is a great place to design any sort of infographic or whatever you're looking to post. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all have about this. We've attended a number of pop-up events, makers markets over the years. I participated in the holiday night market for the past 2 years as a vendor, so can offer some insight into holiday sales as well. And then the last piece I wanted to just mention, this is to echo Robin, is shout out other brands. We're all looking for new content, and operating under a silo is not going to get you anywhere. We kind of say at Roho that we operate under an abundance mindset. What goes around comes around. Even if you're not getting anything for cross promoting another brand, they're going to see that, they're going to appreciate it, and in turn it's going to create that, it's going to lead to, if not them doing something like that, someone else doing something like that. So I just wanted to encourage people, especially if you're looking for new content, to reach out and highlight other businesses that you love and are doing really awesome things as well. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And sorry, it's been a zoo in the background. I thought it would be a great idea to adopt 2 kittens when I have a 100-pound dog during COVID. So, and luckily they love each other, but they also are back here. So anyway.
No issue at all. Okay, so before we move on, Kaylee, I just wanted to say, and especially like thinking about the holidays and putting together options for people to get, pre-packaged set, groups of things that can be a really easy gift. I think that's something I've seen you do really well, and just to kind of tap on that as well.
Yeah, so there are a couple ways that we have done this in the past. So we've partnered with like a gift basket company to sell some of our products in pre-existing gift baskets. So there are companies like Santa Barbara Gift Baskets, which is based out of Goleta, and Pager is incredible. If you have a product that might do well in a specific gift basket, she would be a great person to reach out to. Or also for us, we created fairly recently something called a COVID care kit. And essentially what this is just like a couple small items we bundle them together, and we included a note in it. The idea being that someone would send this to a friend of theirs. And in the note, it mentions something about friendship, like it was alluding to the fact that distance doesn't matter when friendship is so big. And it was just a great way to create a sense of connection using a number of different Roho products, and selling some, rather than one person buying, like, let's say a $7 item for a friend, they bought this $35 item for a friend that was all prepackaged and just easy and ready to get sent off. So if you have the ability to do something like that, I saw someone here has wine and is selling wine. Why not include some sort of specific tag, include a certain type of wine that has a great label for something about friendship or how difficult COVID is, make it super easy to send that off to someone. It's just a great way to help foster connection with people who are really seeking that, and just make it as easy for them as possible.
Amazing. Thank you, Kaylee. That was really, really helpful. Okay, so we have one more special guest to chat, which I'm so excited about, and then we'll be breaking up into sessions to talk about collaboration. So our next guest is Kristen Frazier. Kristen is the owner of Grapeseed Company, creating botanical beauty from wine in Santa Barbara, California. Since 2004, the Grapeseed Company has sourced red wine waste and upcycled it into natural antioxidant-rich skincare for the entire family. Kristen founded Seaside Makers Collective in 2018, bringing a new experience-based approach to retail, featuring the Grapeseed Company scent bar and other niche makers, local artists, and small businesses. They operate 2 stores, one in Santa Barbara in the Funk Zone and one in Carpinteria. Kristen is acknowledged for her innovative approach to creating skincare products and has been featured on mariashriver.com as an architect of change. She has traveled internationally, addressing audiences on the challenges and rewards of creating a niche business in the beauty industry. The Grapeseed Company has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, the Evening Standard, New York Times, Marie Claire, Health, the LA Times, Food and Wine, Organic Spa, Fox News, and more. So again, we have a lot of big players joining us today. And so, so welcome to the webinar, Kristen.
Thank you so much for having me, Ellie and Nikki and Robin and Kaylee. You guys did an awesome job. I don't know if anyone saw on the video, I was nodding my head the whole time with everything you both were saying. I think this is a great combo of special guests and we all bring a different perspective here. So I'm going to share my perspective on the brick and mortar retail because that's really my expertise. I started my first Grapeseed Company store in 2010. So it's been a decade now of running brick and mortar retail. And we started online. We actually started, Grapeseed started at the Cabrillo Art Market, like many makers in this town, back in 2004. And within 6 months, I picked up spa accounts and wholesale accounts and realized like, wow, this could be a real business. So I just wanted to tap into where I started way back when, because I know a lot of makers out there, you know, you wonder, it kind of feels like your whole world has fallen apart the past 7 months. All these events have been canceled and that's your whole revenue stream. That's how you sell everything. So I've been thinking about that a lot. And the whole reason I started Seaside Makers Collective and closed the Grapeseed Company store, just our solo store, is because I saw all of the other amazing artists and makers we have in this community. And after we all went through the Thomas Fire and what happened in Montecito, I saw everybody struggling. I personally, my company had close to $100,000 of orders that were canceled because they could not be picked up because they couldn't access our warehouse. And it almost put us out of business. And it really made me pivot back then and think like, okay, what can I do to bring it back to home? We are in such an amazing community here in Santa Barbara with so many resources, so many incredible people. And I put together a group of makers and opened Seaside Makers Collective, and a lot has evolved since then. So we reopened our store Memorial Day weekend when many got the go-ahead to move forward with opening doors. And we changed our concept a little at that point. I decided to focus more on bringing in more essential goods because Grapeseed Company is actually considered an essential company because we provide personal care products and we manufacture soap and hand sanitizer and things like that. So I started looking more at, okay, what's our artisan community here doing in that space? And I brought a lot of new makers into the shop at that time. And that was both really exciting because they were like, oh my gosh, why am I even getting a phone call? Like someone actually wants to order my stuff because, you know, everything had been on hold for a few months. So expanding in that way, and then also just really focusing on what are the best products being made in our community and bringing more of those in. And that got me thinking, what do I do with our outdoor spaces? Because as restaurants were expanding outdoors, I was thinking, I'm not seeing any retail expanding outdoors. How come? And came up with an idea of about a month and a half ago of starting a maker's market in our parking lot at the Funk Zone. So on Saturday, November 1st, we're going to launch our first maker's market where we are going to have 5 stations popping up where makers can sign up week by week on a first come, first served basis. I've already contacted many people that we have already worked with in the past or have been interested in us. We've been interested in them, but there's only so much space in the store. We can't have every single maker in Santa Barbara in there. So this is a great way that we can expand our space more, still in a social distanced manner, provide the sanitizer we already make to everyone coming in, and bring something to the community that they've been missing. They've been missing all our outdoor markets that we have. We have so many cool events that happen in Santa Barbara, and I think we've all been missing that on different levels. But you know, it's really hurt the maker community where that's all they do is sell that way, and a lot of them have had to pivot and find different ways to sell. So very excited about moving forward with this, and also, you know, the changes that we're seeing at Seaside Makers too. We're getting great feedback from the community, and also the beauty of that is we're now considered an essential store. So if anything happens down the line, you know, where things get worse again, we will be able to stay open like a grocery store. So that's another big pivot that we've made on our end with things, that kept us alive during the 2 months of the shutdown when we had all these leases to pay and the stores were shut down. It was our online business. We were still allowed to operate. I was still allowed to have my team in there manufacturing. So I feel very fortunate that we fell into that essential category. It really helped save us through that tough time. So I'll just open up at this point if anyone has any questions that I can address on retail. I'm more than happy to answer.
Yeah, that's been super amazing, Kristen. And I'd love to, if you can include some information in how to get a hold of these in that collaborative document, because we'll be sharing that with everybody. And I know we have a few folks that had to pop off for 10 o'clock meetings, but I would actually really love to do a deep dive now into looking at collaboration options and have that opportunity for more one-on-one conversations. So I have some breakout sessions that are ready to go, and Kristen, we've got you as one of the leaders, so we've got a different special guest in each room. And the idea, again, is to make sure that we can just have these conversations and see how we can collaborate and work together. So the 3 things that I'm going to ask you to do in these brainstorming sessions are to be ready to introduce yourself, introduce your company, you know, what you're doing, what some of your goals are for the holiday season and what you're hoping to do. Are you hoping to sell retail? Are you hoping to do more virtual or online experiences? Are you looking to live stream? You know, really talk about that, and then see, is there somebody within the group that you're interested in collaborating with? Are one of these maker markets something that you can be a part of? And then alternatively, maybe you don't have a direct connection to the group, but maybe you know somebody who would, or somebody knows someone else that would be a good connection for you. So again, kind of bringing it back to that basic networking experience, but with that in mind, that like, let's find ways to help each other and to make it better going into the holiday season. So, all right, so I'm gonna divide you guys up right now. Okay, hi everybody, welcome back. I feel like that was probably a pretty short period of time and many ideas, I'm sure, that were shared. I just wanted to give us time to come back together as a group and then, you know, share a little bit of insight that happened in the breakout sessions. As we mentioned before, we are recording this and we are sharing this with other folks as we go along. So I wanted to set us up for that and see maybe if the special guests have anything to share from their groups, or if anybody else from those groups want to share. So Kaylee, would you want to get started with that?
Sure. Well, I just feel like we just reached the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, I know a lot of us are feeling like, what do we do? Either some of us have just started a business and are kind of figuring out what that looks like as a result of COVID, and others are kind of like, how do I promote in a way I normally would? Others are looking more towards Christmas and how do we thrive in the Christmas season? speaking like about my own personal experience, I'm looking to, I know Elly, we've talked about potentially renting out a space on State Street and what that looks like. So there are many ideas being floated around, obviously a lot of uncertainty, but generally I think there's like a lot of opportunities right now.
Amazing. Robin, anything from your group?
Yeah, absolutely. It turned out that we have a lot of health and wellness type of business owners in that group, and there was already a potential co-interview panel sort of conversation being instigated. So really, really great conversation.
Amazing. And then Kristen, what about you? Oh.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. We had a great chat, and I think one of the biggest things that came out of it is that, you know, there's so much opportunity out there right now, not to be afraid to reach out to people right now, because we are all looking for opportunity. Planning is very challenging right now because we don't know what's ahead. We don't know what next week's going to look like, let alone next month or 2 months from now. So really, you know, take some time to brainstorm, take some time. That's just as important as shipping out your orders or whatever your like number one thing you have to do to make your business run. We all need to be allowing ourselves a little bit of time right now to just think about how we can make those connections and move forward, and really just focus on the positive, because there is so much negative and it's hard to, we all get stuck in that rabbit hole sometimes, but the only way out is to focus on the positive and think how we can step one foot in front of the other each day with stuff.
Great. Amazing. Well, I'm, again, just so appreciative of all of you ladies coming together and doing this with me and having these conversations. And for everybody who's attending right now, it's really, really gratifying to be in a space where these conversations are happening and, you know, just really kicking off. So I wanted to go back to this really quick. And, you know, as we wrap things up here, there are a lot of conversations that can happen. There are conversations that should still be happening and really moving in that direction. So I wanted to give you some next steps on just, you know, ways I can help and ways I see this being successful for you as a business owner in town. So my first recommendation is to see, you know, is there somebody you've met here today, or is there somebody that you can connect with that you think could be a good collaboration process? And with that in mind, you know, really see what you're willing to invest in, because it is an investment of time, it's an investment of energy, and it is something that can be successful, but you really need to put in that time, like Kristen was just saying, where you're willing to put in that energy and to think ahead a little bit there. So so that's what I would recommend as the first step. Next step is I am happy to do a complimentary brainstorm session with anybody that wants to just talk about, you know, what might be the right direction to move in, what are some creative ideas that you can take on, or, you know, spaces that you can be in that can give you that opportunity to grow your audience, grow your business, and in that fun event way where it's, you know, you've got retail, but what's the next thing you can do in retail to make it memorable and to make it exciting? So my information is in the group notes. I'll be sharing that as we go forward. And then if you are looking for that tech support, that production support, that, you know, additional support going into the holiday season, I will be offering discounted rates for WEV clients. So, you know, knowing that we're all in kind of a tight spot and we're thinking what's next and what we can do, I'm really, really looking forward to working with some of you and seeing, you know, what we can put together as a group, and then how I can help you. So those are next steps for me. And I just wanted to finish on this note. I don't know how many of you have seen this already, but I found it with the Sustainable Fashion Forum, and it's one of my favorites. In terms of just ways to support small businesses, support each other. I would highly, highly recommend that, you know, everyone who's put their information in the shared collaborative Google Doc, or, you know, has added their information in the groups, follow each other, share each other's posts, you know, like, comment, do all these things, because it's free. it just takes a little bit of energy, but it really boosts us all up as a small business community. So that's my final word for today. Again, it's edgy experiences, doing creative gathering solutions online and in person. And I'm very happy to share ideas with all of you and to be here for this webinar. So Nikki, I will hand it back over to you, and thanks everybody for joining.
Well, thank you, Elly, and thanks Kaylee and Robin and Kristen, and to everybody that has participated this morning. I think it was just a wonderful exchange of ideas. There's just a lot of inspiration. There's a lot of opportunity for collaboration, and you're all just part of a wonderful community. And I'm just thrilled that you were able to come this morning and participate. I do just want to share quickly what we have coming up at WEV. It's a very busy month for us. And I just want to highlight a few of the things that are going on so that if you want to participate, you can. October the 15th, so that's next Thursday, we have our annual fundraiser, which is actually going to be held virtually. Called Empowerment is Priceless. It is free to attend, and there's a link there. It's on our landing page on our website. Let me just see, sorry, I was seeing in the chat. Okay, good. And then on Wednesday, October 28th, the next WeaveWorks webinar is, I think, going to be a popular one, Work-Life Balance for Working Parents During COVID. Again, this is a great opportunity to bring in not just self-employed entrepreneur women, but professional women as well, and men and parents, and just share some of the trials and tribulations of what we've had to go through over the last 6 months, combining work and homeschooling and Zoom schooling and all of the above. We have the WEV virtual Shop Local Market that is open to WEV clients. If you have a business, you can apply and you will be featured in the WEV Shop Local Market, which will be one portal that people can then link into your website to purchase products. So if you want more information about that, just email me. And finally, a new webinar series that we have coming up starting next week, the Financial Education webinar series. So a series of 3 webinars that are going to be held in Spanish and English, really addressing financial education, financial literacy, and boy, don't we need it in these times. So that's what we've got coming up at WEV. Again, I just want to thank all our presenters, panelists, attendees, and community members. It was really lovely to spend some time with you today. So have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. This has
Thank
been
you,
great.
everyone.